Hi guys, so we are back again with another review, and today we plan to play Annapurna Interactive's much hyped indie title 12 Minutes. As much as the hype goes, this game may be an indie but has a stellar star cast with voice actors James McAvoy, Willem Dafoe and Daisy Ridley. 12 Minutes was hyped up for several years, possibly since 2018, because Annapurna already was up on many hit indie games, and whenever a time loop point and click adventure game was talked about, 12 Minutes began to slowly rake up that hype, and now it's finally here. So today I would like to say something very different about 12 Minutes, which I usually don't say about my other reviews, is that the game had a lot of review scores pouring in even before the game even released, and it ranged from scores around 5.3 to even 9, which in all sense felt kind of weird. I would just plainly give scores as a user and an experienced point and click adventure player, cause many would feel really biased by the scores that's floating online. So this is Fenris Wolf on behalf of Gamer Overlord, and I do request you all to please watch this video till the end. Do please hit that like as well as the subscribe button. Make sure you click that bell icon for more regular reviews from my side. So making myself and everything else clear, let's get started. Starting with the system requirements for 12 Minutes, we all know that indie games are like playable on all platforms which are more or less compatible friendly, and even for such a case in PC, I guess all it needs is a medium spec involving 4 GB of RAM, an NVIDIA card which ranges from GT 740 to GT 1030, and it works well in all second generation CPUs. As we do see the kind of spec needed for a point and click adventure game, I would suggest an Intel Core i5 second generation with a 1050 Ti card and a RAM of 8 GB to get the best performance. While this game is totally content driven, playing in optimum specs would give a different perspective of the game altogether, and with CPUs and cards enabling ray tracing, this game would still be considered as a treat. Now coming on to the story of the game, I would say it advertises itself as an interactive thriller, which it is, but there may be some shortcomings with respect to the overall execution. I would not actually blame the creators for that, since the game involves a time loop like in the movie such as the source code. So the story involves a couple voiced by McAvoy and wife, which is voiced by Ridley, having a dinner date together, and there enters an intruder who is in a space of 12 minutes, pins you down and kills your spouse. So as a point and click adventure game, you have to dig out solutions, which reveals more information about the overall story in the different spans of time loops you're allowed to go through. The tedious effort in this aspect is that you have to die over and over again, unraveling puzzles, connecting the links to the conversations, get confused again, restart the loop, and so on. There will be a point where you feel like just murder me because of the frequent time loops you are in, and you kind of feel like the Loki stuck in the time loop in the Marvel's Loki series within the TVA. I would rather say a unique, but definitely there could have been more elements to it which could have made the game's story feel much better, but I must say the game gets carried by the way in which the characters process it through. Making no progress isn't a choice here, because finding no clues within the time loop means getting pinned by Dafoe over and over again, who plays the bad guy in this game, and you get killed every time. Apart from the characters, the setting is very romantic. At first you have got to make some decisions regarding how you're going to spend the evening, and then you can just toy around with the environment finding for clues before the bad guy comes and pins you down and kills you. Since this is an indie game, I won't point out those minute details that we do in other games, because I honestly think this is a unique effort and it's also a well-directed one. Therefore, it earns a score of 8 on 10. Now moving on to the graphics, again this is one such parameter that has to be suppressed with respect to indie games, since this is a point and click adventure with low budget development areas. But I must say, for a small studio, the surrounding visuals look pretty realistic. The character animations may look like The Sims, but overall the lighting and surroundings even at times create a level of uncertainty within you, which is very important for a time loop game. Honestly, this game can look rich in Xbox as much as it does on PC. The mysterious environments gel very well with what the circumstance in the game is, and for those who really don't like the top perspective third-person adventure games, I think they should definitely try this out. Many of you will definitely like it. As far as textures are concerned, I have seen indie games with richer graphic details, and competing with that, 12 minutes may look bleak in parts where the game's focus is not on its environment but on the characters more. Like you get engrossed with the events so much that you tend to ignore these minute details with respect to the characters, and that's not a bad thing at all. The graphical parameter for this game can be actually measured when you have playing with a NVIDIA RTX card, where environments have the clearest details you wish you could see in an indie game. Since the game's other features overshadow the graphical judgment of the game, it earns a score of 7 on 10. Now with respect to gameplay and mechanics, 12 minutes truly stands out. Like when I saw these review scores of 5.3 to 6 to 7, I really felt that the players who had reviewed with these scores got irritated by the fact that the game is just too much repetitive. But apart from that, as a player, it tests your ability of making unexpected outcomes from those repetitive moments, which I think will eventually motivate you to repeat the loop. During the first time loop of the story, a seemingly innocent date night which is ruined by Geforce's murderous rampage, and the rest is left for you to discover details, branch those dialogue choices, and creatively interact with the household items which lead to outcomes of the story. In one such loop, you might try to be the perfect date, setting up the table, dancing with your wife, and so on. And in another loop, you can even stab your wife just to see what happens next. Like you can be a savior or a villain in the scenarios you would like, and that's where the beauty of the time loop lies in. Also, the game never explicitly tells you how to stop the time loop or why it's occurring. Every time loop just encourages the player to experiment for information, untie the mysteries, and solve what looks like an untold story. For a point-and-click adventure, I really think the game's mechanics doesn't mess up much, because you can clearly understand what choice to make with the least control options. Just a mouse and your mind is needed to execute the outcomes of whatever you do, and this makes me give the game a gameplay and mechanics score of 8.5 on 10. Unlike the parameters which I use for other games, I think characterization suits very well for this indie, mainly because this game is about 60% driven by characters. Unsurprisingly, Defoe as the bad guy, McAvoy as the protagonist, and Ridley as the wife turned in credible performances considering the game's limited graphics and top-down view. Ridley in particular is impressive, sporting an American accent and an emotional range of mood specificities. This emotional journey and switch of players' perceptions of the characters is the game's greatest strength. Yet some of the loops reveal the drastic change of behavior of the characters, but they try to stick to the script most of the time. When that's there, each repeated loop tends to throw in some new dialogue or internal monologue from the characters, just like the developer Supergiant Games hates. Other than the weightier lines, I guess the improvement should have been made while making choices which could have made the game look more furnished on the outside. All being said, the game's characterization still earns a score of 8.5 on 10. Now coming to the fact that how fun it is to play 12 minutes, I guess here is where I think the other reviewers might have taken things too seriously, because as I said earlier, time loop mystery other than curiosity can also pump you up with frustration. It cannot be said always that solving puzzles is fun, especially when you are paying around £9 for a point-and-click adventure game that tries to annoy you in between time loops. Like there are moments when you feel the limitations of a game where your freedom is bridged in between solving puzzles, click dialogue choices, and seeing almost the same sequence again and again. Another uninteresting aspect that can be highlighted in this regard is the expansion of the characters beyond the bare minimum needed for its plot. Like we learn about these characters' deep secrets, but we basically don't get to spend any time with them in the present, even though 12 minutes is not a long time loop for such interaction. The last aspect within assessing the thrill parameter is how neat the game is. While I have no complaints regarding its gameplay or the mechanics, but I did felt hindrance in the free flow because of the glitches which I had to experience in between the gameplay. Like in between, there was a black screen delay which looked completely glitched, and I had to restart the game to set it right. Other than that awkward moment, I feel if you are ready for a proper time loop experience and love the rules of time travel, this can be fun. I can assure you that with the game's idea and the time loop outcomes, Louis Antonio's 12 minutes earns a trill quotient score of 7 on 10. Now, final verdict for every game is always short and cryptic, but I would really like to add some comments regarding the biased scores which is floating online regarding this game. I don't think the game deserves the negativity of a 5 to 6.5 kind of score, because then you are really expecting too much out of the characters rather than the game itself. Overall, 12 minutes is just another example of Annapurna Interactive's ability to tell stories in video games in their unique way, and I honestly would agree that getting to play out a time loop game for 10 hours is draining as well as frustrating. Yet I think that's where the craving for the single player storytelling lies, and in such a scenario, 12 minutes doesn't disappoint at all. Overall, 12 minutes is esteemed to earn an overlord score of 7.9 on 10, and I would seriously like people to try it, not because of the hype alone, but because this game shows time loop stories in a very unique way, and those who are really curiosity centric, experimentation can become a habit with this one. So that's it from the review, guys. Do express your views on the comment section about the points that I've highlighted in this review. Do you agree to that or not? You can give a yes or no in the comment section and start a discussion. Also, do follow our Discord server for short updates that we won't be coming in our videos. Please do follow our Instagram and Twitter handles for more regular news and updates that we will be bringing. We'll see you guys in the next review.